I never thought I'd be the guy writing something like this, but here we are. My name's Mike, and I was married to Lisa for about 3 years before everything fell apart. At first, we had a pretty normal relationship, nice dinners, weekend trips, the usual stuff. I thought we were happy. She was loud, bossy, kind of bitchy sometimes, but I loved her, or at least I thought I did. Things started feeling weird about 6 months ago. Small things, you know. She'd get called into work suddenly, or she'd be too busy to hang out. I'd find her texts late at night when she'd forget to hide her phone, and they'd be from some guy, Anthony. Always some vague "miss you, can't wait to see you" kind of crap. At first, I brushed it off. Maybe they were friends or she was just venting. But then I noticed the late night calls got more frequent, and she was always quick to hide her phone when I walked into the room. She started acting weird, too. Always distracted, snapping at me for no reason, dodging questions about her whereabouts. I didn't want to believe it, but a gut feeling was nagging at me. I remember one night I caught her in a lie about where she was. She said she was at a friend's house, but her phone pinged some location that was nowhere near that. That's when I started snooping. Not proud of it, but I had to know. So I went through her messages. Nothing explicit at first, just the usual fluff. But then I found the texts between her and Anthony. God, I still remember that sick feeling in my stomach. They were talking about meeting up, about their secret plans, even about breaking free from their old lives. I saw the way Lisa talked to him, the way she used words like soon, can't wait, and even you're the only one who gets me. That's when I knew for sure something was seriously wrong. And then I found the photos, screenshots of their conversations, some of her with her hand on his arm, smirking like she was proud of hiding it from me. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. For a second I just stared, trembling, trying to process what I was seeing. The woman I married, who always acted like she loved me, was sneaking around, lying, cheating. It was like waking up in a nightmare. I couldn't believe I was actually living this moment, that she could betray me so blatantly right under my nose. I wanted to confront her immediately, but I knew I had to be careful. I remembered the times she'd lied about her whereabouts, the late nights, the odd changes in her schedule. I was furious, but I also felt crushed. How could she do this? How could she lie to my face, pretend everything was fine? I started to picture all the moments I thought were special, all the times I'd told myself I was lucky to have her. Turns out it was all a lie. That night I sat in the dark, staring at her phone, feeling a mix of rage, heartbreak, and pure confusion. I didn't sleep. I kept going over everything I had uncovered, trying to understand how I missed all the signs, how I was so blind to who she really was. I was furious at her, but I was also devastated. I'd trusted her. I'd given her everything, and she threw it all away for some guy named Anthony, whose name I later learned was just as much a piece of shit as she was. I knew I couldn't keep this secret for long. I had to confront her, but I didn't want to do it right away. I needed a plan. I needed her to admit it, to see how much I knew, how deeply she'd betrayed me. Because once she did, I was going to make sure she paid. I just didn't know how yet, but I knew it had to hurt her as much as she'd hurt me. The next day I played it cool, pretending everything was normal. I didn't want her to catch on that I knew anything. I kept my distance, watching her every move. She was still her bitchy self, throwing attitude, lying about where she was going, but I was already one step ahead. I'd spent the night reading every text, every message, every photo. I was sick, but I was also determined. She was going to regret this. That afternoon, after she came home from work, I decided I couldn't hold it in anymore. I needed to confront her, get it all out in the open. We were sitting in the living room, her sipping her wine like she had no clue what I was about to say. I looked her right in the eyes, my voice steady but cold. "So Lisa," I said, "I know about Anthony." Her face froze for a second like she was caught off guard, but then she recovered quickly, scoffing. "What are you talking about? You're crazy, you're just paranoid." I shook my head. "No, I saw the texts, the pictures, I know everything. You've been cheating on me, with Anthony, for months." Her sneer grew and she crossed her arms. "That's bullshit. You don't know what you're talking about. Maybe you're just imagining things." I pulled out my phone and showed her the messages, the screenshots of her conversations. Her eyes widened for a moment, then she scoffed again, trying to brush it off. "That's nothing. You're reading into it too much. It's just friends, that's all." I felt bile rise in my throat. "Friends? You've been sneaking around with him, lying to my face, and you think I'm just imagining it. Do you have any idea how much you've hurt me? How much I trusted you?" She rolled her eyes, her voice dripping with venom. "Oh, please, Mike, you're overreacting. Anthony's just a friend. It's not like I'm screwing him every night. You're making a big deal out of nothing." That was the point where I realized how much she was lying. She was a master at it, making me doubt myself, trying to make it seem like I was crazy. But I was. I knew what I saw. I knew the truth. I stood up, my fists clenched. "You're a liar, Lisa. You think I'm stupid. I saw the way you look at him, the way you text him late at night. Don't even try to deny it. I want the truth now." She looked annoyed, then sneered again. "You're such a drama queen, Mike. You're just jealous because I won't let you control me. Anthony's just a distraction, that's all. You're imagining things like always." That's when I lost it. I'd had enough of her bullshit. I told her to pack her bags, that I wasn't going to be played for a fool anymore. She looked at me with that bitchy smirk, like she was enjoying the power she had over me. I knew then this wasn't just about a secret affair. It was about the fact that she thought she could get away with everything, that she could lie and cheat and still keep her perfect image. In that moment, I decided I'd had enough. If she wanted to keep lying, I'd make her regret it. I had no idea exactly how yet, but I knew I'd get revenge. I didn't want to just walk away, not without making her pay for destroying what little trust we had. I felt the rage boiling inside me, but I kept my voice steady. "You're done, Lisa. I want you gone, and don't come back. I don't want to see your face again until you're ready to tell me the truth, every single thing, no more lies." She stormed out of the room, yelling that I was crazy, that she'd never cheat, that I was just jealous and insecure. But I wasn't listening anymore. My mind was racing, trying to figure out what I was going to do next. I knew one thing for sure. I wasn't going to let her walk all over me. Not anymore. She'd already ruined my trust. Now I had to figure out how to ruin her life in return. That night I couldn't sleep. My mind kept spinning over everything. I kept looking at the photos, the texts, the moments I'd missed, how she'd lied to me so effortlessly, how she'd made me feel crazy for doubting her. Deep down, I knew I had to do something more than just throw her out and call it a day. She needed to see that she couldn't get away with this. That's when I started planning my revenge. I didn't want to just confront her again or tell her I knew. I wanted something she'd never forget, something that hit her right where it hurt. I needed her to realize she'd crossed a line, and that I wasn't the kind of guy who'd just roll over and forget it. I also knew I had to be clever about it. She was manipulative, used to lying her way out of things, so I had to play it smart. The first step was to gather more evidence, just enough to make her realize I wasn't bluffing. I set up a little hidden camera in the living room, where I knew she'd meet Anthony next. I wanted to catch her in the act, show her that I wasn't just making empty threats. I also dug into her phone, installed a monitoring app so I could see her messages and calls without her knowing. It felt dirty, but honestly, I was already feeling like I'd been lied to my entire life. Meanwhile, I started subtly turning the screw. I told her I was done with her, but that I wanted to know the truth. I kept asking her questions, acting like I was trying to salvage the marriage, but all the while I was just baiting her. I wanted her to slip up, to show her true colors. She kept denying everything, calling me insecure, accusing me of spying, but I knew better. She was panicked inside, and I could see it. One afternoon, she left her phone unattended, an opportunity I couldn't pass up. I grabbed it, looked through her recent messages, and saw her planning with Anthony again. They were talking about meeting at a hotel that very night. My stomach dropped. This was it. I had enough. I knew I couldn't let her keep doing this, pretending she was innocent. That night, I waited until she left for her meeting. I slipped into her email account and found even more proof, photos she'd sent him, explicit messages, plans to see each other again. I printed everything out, packed it into an envelope, and scheduled it to be delivered to her office the next morning. I wanted her to see in the harshest way possible that I knew everything, that I had proof. I wanted her to feel exposed, vulnerable, like she'd been caught in her own web of lies. When she came home that night, I was waiting in the living room, calm but cold. She looked surprised, then defensive, but I didn't say a word. I just handed her the envelope. Her face went pale as she opened it, revealing the screenshots, the photos, all the evidence of her betrayal. For a moment, she didn't speak. Then her bitchy smirk turned into a snarl. "You think this will ruin me?" she sneered. "You're nothing, Mike. You're just jealous, insecure, and a damn fool for believing I'd stay faithful to someone like you." I felt a surge of anger. "You're done lying. I know everything. And I promise you I'm not going to just walk away from this. You've ruined our marriage, but I'm going to make sure you regret ever messing around with Anthony." She stormed off to the bedroom, but I knew I'd hit her where it hurt. I was starting to realize that this wasn't just about revenge anymore. It was about reclaiming my dignity. I refused to be played, and I refused to be a fool. If she thought she could cheat on me, lie to my face, and then just go back to her life like nothing happened, she had another thing coming. I spent the night planning my next move. I was done being the nice guy. Now I just wanted her to feel the pain, to see that her actions had consequences. I didn't know exactly what I'd do next, but I knew I'd make her pay. She'd always be the bitchy, liar wife who thought she was above it all, but I was about to turn the tables. And when I did, she'd learn that betrayal always comes with a price. The following morning, I woke up with a clear plan in mind. I knew I couldn't just confront her again and hope she'd suddenly change her tune. No, I needed to take control of the situation, make her realize that I was serious, and that I had the power now. I also knew I had to be careful. She was manipulative and skilled at spinning her lies. I didn't want to give her any room to wiggle out of this. First, I called in a private investigator I'd found online. Not a cheap move, but I needed concrete proof of her meeting Anthony, and I wanted it documented properly. I told him to follow her discreetly during her next meeting, to get footage, photos, and details about where she was going. I didn't tell her about the investigation, of course. I wanted her to keep thinking she was still in control, that she could keep sneaking around. While I waited for the investigator to gather intel, I started packing her bags. I didn't want her to think I was making a scene or trying to control her, yet. I just wanted her to see I was serious. I also prepared an email I'd send to her boss, revealing everything I'd found. I knew she'd lied to her work friends about her. Late nights, and I wanted to make sure her reputation was damaged just enough to make her realize she was out of control. Meanwhile, I kept my cool, acting as if everything was normal. I even suggested we go out for dinner, pretending I was trying to save the marriage. She was suspicious, I could tell. She kept looking at me with that bitchy smirk, trying to pretend her lies weren't eating her up inside. But I saw right through her. She was panicked, and I loved it. It was only a matter of time before she cracked. The real payoff came when the investigator sent me the footage. It was exactly what I needed. Her sneaking out that night, meeting Anthony at a fancy hotel downtown, her kissing him in the parking lot, the whole 9 yards. Seeing her like that, so brazen, so shameless, made my blood boil. I finally had concrete proof and enough to put an end to her lies once and for all. That afternoon, I sat her down, played the video on my phone, and watched her face turn pale. She tried to deny it, of course, but her voice was shaky. "That's not what it looks like," she muttered, but I cut her off. "Oh, I think it is," I said. "You've been lying to my face for months. I caught you with Anthony. You thought you could keep cheating and I'd never find out. Well, guess what? I know everything now." She started crying, but it was all fake. She was good at that too. The tears were just another part of her act, trying to manipulate me into feeling sorry for her. But I didn't care. I felt a strange mix of rage and relief. Rage that she'd betrayed me, and relief that I finally had the truth. I told her she was done, that I was filing for divorce. I wasn't going to let her destroy what we had left. I made it clear she'd never see Anthony again, and I'd make sure everyone knew who she really was, an unfaithful, manipulative bitch. I also sent the email to her boss, copying her in with all the proof attached. Let her work think she was a lying, cheating mess. I didn't care anymore. That night, as she packed her bags and stormed out, I felt a strange sense of liberation. This wasn't just about revenge anymore. It was about reclaiming my life, my dignity. I realized how much I'd been blinded by her bitchy facade and how she used lies and manipulation to get what she wanted. Now she was the one losing everything, her marriage, her reputation, maybe even her job. I didn't know what would come next, divorce, moving on, cutting her off completely. But one thing was certain, I'd never let her hurt me like this again. Betrayal cuts deep, but sometimes the only way to heal is to start over, and I was ready for that. After she left that night, I finally felt a weight lift off my shoulders, but also a strange emptiness. Part of me wanted to feel victorious, to revel in her shame, but another part just felt exhausted. I'd been betrayed so deeply, so ruthlessly, that I didn't even recognize myself anymore. The girl I thought I knew, the woman I married, turned out to be nothing but a liar and a cheat. Still, I knew I had to keep moving forward for my own sake. I spent the next few days organizing everything. I contacted a lawyer, got the paperwork ready, started the divorce proceedings. I'd always been a straightforward guy, so I knew this was the only way to really cut her out of my life. I also made some calls to close friends, people I trusted, to tell them what was happening. I wanted to ensure I wasn't alone in this mess. And honestly, I needed the support. The betrayal was a punch to the gut, and it took every ounce of strength I had to keep it together. While I was doing all that, I kept checking her social media and email. I wanted to see if she'd try to spin her story, spin her lies even further, but she didn't. She just disappeared. No calls, no texts, no explanation. I think she knew she'd gone too far and she was trying to save face, but I wasn't going to let her. I'd already proven she wasn't trustworthy and I wasn't about to get played again. The weirdest part was, I kept feeling this mix of relief and sadness. Relief because I finally knew the truth and I didn't have to wonder anymore. Sadness because I'd lost someone I once loved, someone I thought loved me back. That realization hit hard. I kept questioning everything. Did I miss the signs? Was I blind? How did I let her get away with so much? One night I sat alone in my apartment staring at the wedding album. I thought about all the memories, the promises we made, the dreams we shared. It all felt so distant now, so fake. I thought about her lies, her manipulations. I felt like I'd been duped, played for a fool. But I also knew I couldn't let this define me. Not forever. In the end, I decided I'd start over. Not with her, not with someone who lied and cheated, but for myself. I'd rebuild my life, learn from this nightmare. The pain, the anger, it was all part of the process. I knew I'd come out of this stronger, wiser. The betrayal hurt, but it also woke me up. I realized I deserved better, someone who wouldn't lie, cheat, or manipulate. Someone who'd respect me. Looking back now, I'd tell anyone in a similar situation, trust your gut. Don't ignore the signs, no matter how much you want things to work out. Because sometimes the truth is uglier than you think. And you have to face it head on. The pain might be unbearable at first, but it's better than living in a lie. And no matter how much she hurt me, I know one thing, I'll be okay. I always will be, because I've learned to stand up, even after getting knocked down. It's been a few months now since she walked out of my life, and honestly, I feel like I'm finally starting to breathe again. The initial shock and fury have faded into a sort of numb clarity. I won't lie, it hurt like hell to realize she'd been lying to me for so long, to see her betray everything we built. But in some twisted way, it also freed me. I finally see her for who she really was, and I see myself for what I deserve. Someone who values honesty, loyalty, and respect. I've thrown myself into rebuilding my life. Started hitting the gym, reconnecting with friends I'd let slip away, and focusing on my career. The anger I once felt is slowly turning into strength. I learned a lot from this nightmare, mainly that no matter how much you love someone, you can't fix a relationship that's built on lies. Trust is everything, and once that's broken, it's nearly impossible to repair. Looking back, I see how her manipulations almost destroyed me. The lies, the sneaking around, the fake smiles, all of it was designed to keep me in the dark while she got her kicks with Anthony. But I refused to be a victim anymore. I took control of the situation, gathered proof, and cut her out of my life clean. It was the hardest thing I've ever done, but also the most necessary. For anyone reading this who might be going through something similar, I'd say this: don't ignore those little voices inside. Pay attention to the signs, no matter how small, they add up. And when you catch someone in a lie, don't second-guess yourself. Trust your instincts and act quickly. The pain is real, but it's also a chance to grow stronger. I've come to realize that betrayal, as painful as it is, can serve as a wake-up call. It strips away illusions and forces you to focus on your own happiness and integrity. I've learned that revenge isn't about getting back at her, but about reclaiming your peace and dignity. I don't hate her anymore, I just feel sorry for her, because she lost herself in her lies, and I refuse to lose myself in her shadow. Now, I look forward to a better future, one where I choose honesty and loyalty over deception, one where I'm not afraid to trust again, but I do so more carefully. Because love isn't about sacrificing your self-respect or settling for lies. It's about respect, honesty, and being with someone who truly values you. I may have lost her, but I gained clarity, and that's worth everything.